This is the part of our history that almost no one truly imagines, because today we feel untouchable. We have houses, doors, glass, alarms, telephones, but for most of the time, for most of the millennia, we had nothing. No walls, no care, no security. And the truth is simple. For a long time, man was not the hunter, he was the prey. Prepare to take a leap back in time, tens of thousands of years. We are in the time of Homo sapiens. He was already a modern man, similar to us, but generally more robust and resistant. He had more developed muscles, strong shoulders, hard hands. The face could be more pronounced, with a more prominent jaw and cheekbones, and the teeth were often more worn. It was a body made for walking, resisting, and reacting, not for comfort. Imagine being there, not in a museum, not in a book. Really, there Europe, it was glacial. The world is not as green as it is today. It is cold, bare, hard. There are trees, but they don't protect you. There is snow for months. The wind almost never stops. The ground is full of frozen mud, and every step costs you energy. If you go out today without a jacket, you'll get cold and go back home. There's no home there. If you get wet, you stay wet. If you're cold, you stay cold for hours. And the cold isn't just a nuisance. It's something that consumes you, slowly. It makes you slower. It makes you weaker. And when you're weaker, you become easier. Now imagine a group of people. A small tribe, 20, 30 individuals. Someone is carrying a child, someone is dragging a skin, a makeshift blanket, someone has a leg wound. They can't walk well, but they have to keep going anyway, because stopping in the wrong place means risking everything. The day is a constant search. As soon as the light rises, they move. They can't afford to stay still for too long, because stopping means expending energy without achieving anything. They search for water that isn't just ice. Sometimes they have to break through a frozen crust. Sometimes they have to follow a stream until they find a less cold spot, or a pool that isn't completely closed. And even water is a risk, because in certain places the ground gives way, slips, and you get wet. And getting wet in that climate can become a serious problem. Then they look for dry wood. In that world, wood provides warmth, light, and protection. But in a cold, humid environment, you can't find it easily. You have to search for it under fallen branches, under bark, in places sheltered from the wind. And you carry it with you even if it weighs you down, because you can't afford to arrive empty-handed in the evening. And then there's the hardest part, food. You can't find it when you want it, and you can't find it where you want it. Sometimes you walk for hours and see nothing. You only see traces, footprints in the snow, marks in the mud, hairs left on a branch, bones already cleaned by other animals. Sometimes you hear movement in the distance and realize there's prey, but it's too far away, or it disappears immediately. Sometimes you chase for a while, then you lose the trail and realize you've only wasted energy. When the hunt goes well, everything changes. Because meat means energy and strength. It means resisting the cold. It means having enough energy to keep walking. But when the hunt goes badly, you return without food. You have less energy. You feel colder and you're more tired. And in that world, when you're tired, it doesn't take much to make a mistake. And mistakes, in that world, are paid for with your life. Late afternoon. The light changes. The sun sets early. It's the most dangerous time, because it's not yet night, but not day anymore. Your vision is poor. Your eyes get tired. Your body is already tired. That's when something can happen. The group stops. Not because they want to, because they have to. And then comes the first important choice, where to spend the night. They don't look for a nice place. They look for a place that won't betray them. A slightly higher point, a rock face behind them. A place where they can't be easily surrounded. A place where you can control at least two directions. Then comes the second choice, the one that decides everything. The fire. Lighting a fire today is easy. Lighter, match, not there. There you have to have embers. You have to have dry materials. You have to protect the flame from the wind. You have to work at it. And while you work, you're making noise. And noise, in nature, attracts. But without fire, you're even more exposed. Because fire isn't just heat. Fire is light. People sit close together. Children in the center. Adults around. It's not a romantic gesture. It's a defense. And someone stays awake always. Because sleeping altogether is like turning off your senses. And then night really comes. And this fear wasn't unique to glacial Europe. In other parts of the world, even warmer, humans were equally vulnerable at night. When total darkness comes, everything changes. You can see almost nothing and you can't understand what's around you. You hear every noise louder, a branch breaking, a rustling, a distant step, and your brain begins to do what it's learned over thousands of years. Imagine the worst. To prepare for the worst. Somewhere in the darkness, a pack of wolves is moving. You don't see them, but you hear them. Sometimes you hear a distant howl. Sometimes you just hear a strange silence, a silence that's not normal. Because when a predator approaches, nature often stops. The birds stop, the wind seems stronger, the darkness seems closer. Wolves aren't monsters, they're intelligent, they follow the scent. They try to figure out if that group is strong or weak, if someone's injured, if someone's moving away, if the fire is stable or dying. And this is important. Many imagine that predators always attack. That's not the case. Often they wait, often they plan, because for them too an attack can be risky. But if they see an easy opportunity, they don't forgive. A man gets up and walks away a few meters, perhaps out of need. It's normal, but it's precisely in that moment that tragedies happen. An attack against the entire group isn't necessary. A second of isolation is all it takes. And in that world, a second can be enough. Now, in addition to predators, there's an enemy that's even simpler and even more cruel. The wound, a cut, a sprain, a badly inserted thorn. Today it seems like nothing. There it can become fever. It can become pus. It can become the inability to walk. And if you don't walk, you slow everyone down. If you slow everyone down, you put everyone in danger. This is why the tribe lives in a constant balance between helping each other and surviving. This is a hard part to say, but it's real. At certain moments, the group had to choose, not because it was bad, but because nature forces you to choose. How did man not disappear? He did something that seems obvious, but isn't. He learned to become a real group, not just close people, but coordinated people. If you like content like this and want to help me create new similar documentaries, subscribe to the channel. It costs as much as a coffee. Dawn, the group moves again. They don't walk randomly. The stronger ones stay on the sides, the weaker ones stay in the center. Those with more experience look at the ground. Not by instinct, but because they've learned to read the signs. Footprints on the ground, fresh tracks on the crushed grass, broken branches, turned stones, gnawed bones, still wet excrement, a smell in the air, a path to quiet, a narrow passage where you can't escape. And man learns that it's not just the animal that kills you, it's the place. A narrow gorge can become a trap. A thick forest can hide an attack. Soft ground near water can swallow you. And an open plain, without shelter, can leave you exposed to everything. Then come the tools. At first they are stones, sticks, sharp splinters, not to make weapons of war but to create an advantage, because the most important rule is this: man cannot afford to fight hand-to-hand with a predator. He must keep his distance. The spear was born for this. Even a simple spear changes everything. It doesn't make you invincible, but it gives you a chance. You can strike first. You can defend yourself. You can act as a barrier. And then the second, more powerful weapon is born: noise and compactness. The group hears movement nearby. They don't flee in disarray. They gather together, they raise torches, they shout together. It hits stones, it moves as one body. It's not courage, it's strategy, because many predators they seek isolated prey. If they see a group that seems large, coordinated, ready to react, they often hesitate. And hesitation is time, and time is life. At this point, a slow but enormous transformation occurs. Man begins to do something that predators don't do in the same way: plan. The wolf hunts when he sees the opportunity. Man begins to create the opportunity. Hunting, it's not a heroic race, it's organized. Some push the prey toward a point, others wait, others block the way. It doesn't always work. Sometimes it ends badly. Sometimes someone gets injured. Sometimes the group returns empty-handed, but every attempt leaves a lesson. And here comes the most important thing: communication. Long speeches aren't necessary. What's needed is understanding each other, a signal, a word, a gesture, a look that means now. When a human group understands each other, it becomes a new animal, not because it's stronger, but because it moves with a collective mind. And slowly, through trial and error, the balance changes. It doesn't mean that predators disappear. It doesn't mean that fear ends. Fear remains, because it is necessary. But man's position changes. He is no longer just the one who runs away. He also becomes the one who resists, the one who defends, the one who decides. Imagine a very clear scene. One morning, the tribe finds fresh tracks in the snow, tracks of a predator. Years before, it would have been a signal to change direction immediately, to escape, to avoid any risk. Now, however, they stop, they look, they understand the direction. They assess the distance, they gather together, they prepare. Not because they have become fearless, but because now they have tools, fire, experience, and above all, mutual trust. They have learned not to be alone. Man did not become dominant thanks to strength. He became dominant thanks to three simple things: the group fire strategy. For a long time, man was prey vulnerable in an enormous world. He survived because he learned to stay united, to protect the night with fire, and to think one step before danger. And from that daily struggle, made of choices and fear, modern man was born.